I think that couples should take classes before becoming parents. We take classes for everything else, like driving a car, guitar lessons, cooking, writing, TV production. But the most important creation in a family is a brand new human being with no instruction manual. Is parenting an art or is it a science? Are you born with the skills of a good parent or can you learn them? Jena Bellezza and Laura Wynn from the Indiana Parenting Institute right now on CounterPoint with Garrard McClendon.
Police have arrived.
100% breastfed, straight from the source.
Drug-free pull birth. Dolphin assisted.
Oh. Well, you push. We cuddle.
Yeah, cuddling is bonding.
Helicopter mom, 12 o'clock.
Must be mommy's day off.
Oh, that's sexist. What?
Thank you for joining us on CounterPoint. Hey, give me a call or text me, 844-777-9311. Tweet me at GerardMC and send Facebook comments to CounterPoint Gerard. Joining me at the CounterPoint to talk about good parents, bad parents, and the skills of parenting are Jena Bellezza and Laura Wynn from the Indiana Parenting Institute. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Man, I'm so glad you showed up today because we got some good parents out there. We got some bad parents out there, and we have some ugly parents out there. So you know, I'm going to start with the cliche. You know, they say that the first teacher is the parent, more specifically the mother, all right? The child's in the womb for 9 months. The child has been hearing the heartbeat of the mother and the sweet sounds of the outside world for that 9-month period, but the child has to be born. And then two people have to have the audacity to be parents. So first, ladies, I got Laura Wynn, I got Jena Bellezza with me today. Why, Laura Wynn, why fund and direct a parenting institute?
Oh my goodness. It's the foundation of our society if you really think about it, parenting.
But why you though? Why
me?
What
Why
was
us?
what was the moment of the epiphany where you said, I gotta start a parenting institute?
I'll tell you. I'm from Chicago originally, and so I used to watch the news a lot, and I don't watch news nearly as much as I used to. But one of the things that I would always notice on television, on the news, is that parents were always, saying that they did the absolute best that they could when they had children, and the children wound up being in trouble, and they didn't know what else to do. Yeah. And so it occurred to me, the bulb came on, that perhaps it's what they're doing. Perhaps they needed help. And so I had a great parenting experience and do continue to have that to this day with my daughter. And I thought, well, what would happen if there was a program available that would actually help parents learn more about the process of parenting? If you've done all you can, then guess what? Maybe there's something more you can do, you see.
Wow. And speaking of offspring,
yes.
you've done quite a good job
offspring.
with this person right here, Jena Bellezza. Jena, you've been working with this wonderful lady, for the last 10 years or so as it pertains to this institute.
Right.
Why did you not go elsewhere? Why did you say, hey, I'm going to be the companion and the partner in this beautiful parenting institute with Mom? Why?
Well, I'm a kid and I did try, but what happened is that I had a marriage fail. I came home and she had this brilliant idea, which was to start this parenting program, and I thought it was something that touched my heart, and I decided I wanted to go on that journey with her and see how it unfolded. And it's probably been one of the most fulfilling journeys I've been on in my entire life.
So, founder and CEO right here, and I see she's chomping at the bit. I love this. I'm going to let you get your comment in.
Okay.
And you've been doing outreach and what else for the Institute?
I work a lot to promote parenting, parenting awareness, parenting understanding, that parents need our help. You know, a lot of times people like to blame parents for the problem, but I think that if they are the problem, it's probably because they don't know the solution. And so understand if you're seeing a problem, then help them resolve the problem. Don't complain about the problem. And so what Indiana Parenting Institute does is it helps solve as opposed to add to the complaining about these bad, ugly parents, you know.
Oh, wow. Because I was trying my best not to be mean at the beginning of the show, but everybody watching right now, they know I'm right. There's some bad parents out there, but it doesn't stop at that. You know, it's obvious that Laura Wynn wanted to help that cause. There was something in your heart that said, wait a minute, you know, these parents, these new parents, in some cases these old parents, or in some cases, parents who society would deem underage, just need a little bit of help.
They just need help. You know, we've not really met parents who do not love their children. That's the one thing that is constant across the board. They all want what is best, just like everybody else want good things for their children. But the problem is, how do I make that happen? So some of the families that we work with, they do not have the skills or the knowledge or the access to perhaps some resources to help them determine or find the answer to that. And so what we do is that we bring them into our classrooms, and we have a lot of fun, first of all, and we teach them skills to use in terms of working with their kids to make them happy, healthy kids.
Let's talk about these skills, because I was wondering, how do you target these parents? Because wouldn't some people say, I ain't no bad parent, I know what I'm doing. How do you target a person who just needs a little help?
Well, basically, I was going to say, Jena, who also handles our marketing, really works with that, with that particular solution. But I can tell you that we are big proponents of marketing to different problems within the community or situations that parents are engaged in. For example, we work with a truancy program because now we're dealing with parents who are really having problems keeping their kids in school. We may be working with parents who are having problems disciplining their children, and it could be toddlers, it could be school-age children. So we target specific segments of the community based upon the particular issues that they're dealing with, you see. And so it helps us to isolate those particular parents in the community so we can target them directly.
Let's talk about isolation. Jena, Bellezza, you go into the community, you know that there's a void, you know that there's a truancy problem, or there are challenges with students getting to school, or there may be a substance abuse situation. How do you go in there with a soft heart and with a soft speech to convince a person to say, we've got help here?
There's several ways. First of all, you got to get a receptive audience. And what I mean by that is the person has to acknowledge that they have a problem. I cannot talk to anyone who doesn't acknowledge that there's a problem. A lot of times they'll think it's the kids, and it gives me an opportunity to deflect that attention from the child as a problem to maybe there are some resources or some information that I can give you that might help that situation, allow you to have that control and that authority that you think you don't have in that situation to actually be an influence, have an impact on it. So there's that. There's partnerships that we make in the community as well. People are already working with families, and they want to bring the parents into the mix, like it's a youth program. They want to bring the parents into the mix. And so we concentrate a lot on the parent-child relationship, and we show parents how to do that effectively.
Yes.
So we find that bringing that component into any current program really helps to solidify that relationship, and you see the behaviors change in conjunction.
This is good. I would imagine that the partnerships are crucial to the development and to the success of the Indiana Parenting Institute.
Oh, without a doubt. One of the things that I wanted to say with regard to parenting, what's important is for parents to understand that they're the center of influence within the home. And a lot of parents don't get that.
Do you really believe that?
Of course.
Come on now, Laura Wynn. We got video games.
They're still the center of influence.
ESPN.
It doesn't matter.
You got the Super Bowl and the NBA Finals.
It doesn't matter. They're still the center of influence in the home when it comes to their children, because they are the decision makers in the home.
I thought Jay-Z
They
and
are also
Beyonce
the
made the decision.
No. Not only if parents allow them to do that.
Okay.
Parents have to allow someone else to come into their home and begin to make decisions for their children. They have to allow that. You can turn off a TV. You understand? You can also parent by example. A parent is a role model to the child. So whether it's spoken or unspoken, you're still a role model. Do you understand?
Ooh, and sometimes the child won't listen to what you say, but the child is looking at you.
They are observing what you're doing. That is just like talking, just like speaking. And parents don't necessarily realize that they are teaching by behavior, by their own behavior.
And Gerard, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What is the most effective influencer in your life? Is it consequence or is it relationship? So if you and I are friends, so if I wanted you to do something, if I asked you to do something, what would be the convincing factor, that our relationship or the consequence?
Probably the relationship.
So that's what we teach.
Even though the consequence may hurt worse, and you can make me totally and fully aware of how bad the consequence may be, but if I don't have a relationship with you, I'm going to just ignore you all day long.
That's what we teach our parents. I think the huge
How to have that
problem
relationship.
in the home today is the relationship issue. When you've got a working parent, or you've got a parent that's so absorbed in their own problems that they can't give the child that attention, that breakdown doesn't allow effective communication. So the kid's going to do what they can to get your attention. So if it's negative behavior that gets your attention, they're going to do that negative behavior. So it's really a matter of redirecting that attention and that relationship and their focus so that they make sure that they give the child that attention that we all need. All human beings need attention so that they can develop much more healthily.
So I can't drink a fifth of whiskey at night and say, baby, don't drink.
That will not work.
Wow. I can't smoke cigarettes and say, nicotine bad for you.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't really matter what I say at that point, because I'm modeling something that is the antithesis.
Right, and not only that, you are not being honest. You know, in other words, you're not carrying out the true factor. Don't smoke because it's bad for your health. Puff, puff, puff. You understand? So what does that mean? It's contradictory. So if you're going to speak to your children, speak truth to your children.
Or you just explain to
by
them
example.
that mommy has a problem with this, and I don't want you to have that problem. So don't do as I do, and maybe together we can help mommy get over this problem.
You know what? This is profound. And, man, I'm telling you, the first half went by so quickly. But I got to read some Facebook comments here. Michael James says, no, if a parent lets their 5-year-old smoke marijuana, Gerard, they should go directly to jail. Do not pass, go, nor collect $200. Go directly to jail. Rosie McAllister on Facebook says, some people should not have children. Oh, wow. Maurice Staples says, yes, they do need parenting classes. If they still act a fool after the classes, then let them face the consequences. And Dwayne Johnson says, I got 2 words for parents allowing their child to misbehave and allowing their child to smoke at 5 years old: social services. Wow. Do some parents need parenting classes? Should you have to take a test before creating a child? Voice your concerns and we the people. Call or text me 844-777-9311. Tweet me at GerardMC. And Facebook comments can be sent to CounterPoint Gerard. We'll be back shortly. Tweet me, post on Instagram, or send me a message on Facebook. Let's start the conversation. Your voice is important on CounterPoint. Welcome back to CounterPoint. Hey, I have the privilege of having Jena, Bellezza, and Laura Wynn from the Indiana Parenting Institute on the show to discuss good parenting. Ladies, thank you for staying with us for a second segment. That commercial is profound. You know, it's all about being a parent first. These parents are in the park supposedly having a wonderful time. Then they start arguing over who the best parent is, and the baby rolls away in the stroller. But lo and behold, thank God no babies were hurt during that commercial. They ran down and they rescued the baby. You know what? Let me ask you this. Jena, do all parents need classes?
You know what, it's like professional development to me. Do you know? I mean, I'm a doctor. Do you really want to go to a doctor who has not studied the latest and greatest since he graduated from med school? You want somebody to stay up to date on what people have learned. You know, you're too busy parenting, you're too busy living your life to really get to know all that, to study all that stuff on your own. So it's nice to go someplace and get yourself up to date on those things. So maybe a technique that they told you worked 10 years ago, they realize now doesn't work.
So beating my child.
Right.
You know, you better do what I say.
Right.
That's not always the right thing to do.
No. And one thing I would love to tell parents is that if you've tried something and it doesn't work, it means you need to try something else. It doesn't mean that A, something's wrong with the child, or B, that you need to do it harder. You know?
This is interesting. This is interesting. And it reminds me, too, of how once a child develops the ability to speak and understand, that should eliminate you always having to, and I won't use the A word, abuse, but that should eliminate some aspects of you rearing the child by the use of force once you can actually communicate with the child. You know, I was studying something earlier, and I thought about the two of you, the ways of parenting. So we can parent in a permissive way. We can parent in an autocratic way. You do what I say, autocratic, or we can parent in a democratic way. So you got autocratic, democratic, and permissive. The three aren't necessarily good or bad inherently. It's how you use them. Sometimes a parent has to be autocratic. You know, you can't be democratic when a train is coming and the child's about to be hit. That's an autocratic situation. But if you're too permissive, now the child becomes the parent. How can that become problematic? Ooh, you smiling, Miss Laura Wynn. How can that be problematic when the child is running the household?
Well, basically because the parent has given up their rights to parent the child. You know, they think they're parenting the child, but actually they are not parenting the child. So we have that situation with parents a great deal of the time. A lot of parents have just kind of given up on understanding what parent means, or not really understanding what it means to be an effective parent. One of the things that Indiana Parenting Institute does is that our role is to provide them with the skills to help them understand how to parent your particular child. I'll give you, for an example, a parent will tell a child, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, all the time. Always, don't do this.
Don'ts.
Yes, the don'ts, always. Without actually explaining to the child what is the appropriate thing then to do in that situation.
So it's all negative reinforcement,
yes.
And then the child's not learning anything.
Right, so if you consistently tell that child no, then the child really has no way of knowing what the right thing is to do. So it creates a problem. So that leads to what we just talked about, which is the parent giving up their rights to parent because they have not taught the child the correct way to do something.
But I want to be my child's best friend, and I'm taking my child to the concert, and I'm buying my child a Coach bag, and I'm going to run with my child. What's wrong with that? Come on now, Jena.
I just think people need to understand what a parent is. And a parent is not a child's best friend. A parent is a guide. I kind of equate it to a tour guide. When I go to France, I don't want somebody to be my friend. I want them to show me what is safe to do, what is fun to do, what is healthy to do, what is good to do, what's bad to do, so I can stay away from the bad stuff, and so that I can have a good experience. If they're just there, doing what I want to do and trying to let me have fun, I'm not going to have, and I'm probably going to get in trouble as well, but I'm not going to have the fulfilling experience that I can. So if you are too busy playing around with your kid and not really showing them how to be successful in this society that they have been birthed into, then you're actually handicapping your child.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about children who, and does the Parenting Institute deal with this, where do you ever have to make a judgment call where you have an inclination that the children just don't belong with these parents, even though they're the biological parents? Mm-hmm. Do you ever get that inclination?
Yeah,
and do you have to report it?
Oh, without a doubt. You do report it. Mm-hmm. And there are parents who, well, you can tell, because there are parents who come in the class sometimes and they may smell of marijuana. They may, when you have a class, parents tend to open up about a lot of things. Personal and private things that are going on in their home. And so whenever they start talking about situations where you see that situation is an abusive situation toward the child, then it is our responsibility to report that. But we will also work with that parent to help them understand why that particular behavior is considered to some degree abusive. You understand what I mean? Or disrespectful to themselves as well as disrespectful to the child. One of the things that happens with parents is, we talked about this earlier, they feel that it's okay to do certain things because they're adults around the child.
Right.
We talked about this earlier, and not realizing that as a parent, you do have to lead by example with those children. So there's just certain things you cannot do.
Absolutely, and it's wow. 20-some years ago, I was teaching a class, and the child was always coming to class sleepy. Mm-hmm. Later, we find out that the parent was smoking a substance in the car on the way to school. Once we spoke with the parent was like, my bad, you know what? I shouldn't be treating my baby like that. The child's performance went up exponentially because then the father realized that that his level of normalcy wasn't the thing that should be normal. So let's talk about things, and I don't want to call anything abnormal today. I don't want to call any parents abnormal, but are there some red flags, Janae, that come up when it's like, wait a minute, we know at the Indiana Parenting Institute we can help this situation?
I think you're going to find parents who are struggling with certain issues. I mean, life is very interesting, and if you don't know how to handle life, if you haven't been raised to have resiliency skills, you don't have resources and supports that you can access, it can be very difficult, and it becomes your whole focus. And sometimes when parents are caught up in that, they aren't the best parents because their focus, like I said, is not on the child and on the family, but on that situation. So it's really a matter of being aware of that and then letting them know maybe we should get the child elsewhere so that we can focus on getting you past this thing that's got all of your absorption, this situation. And it's just a situation. And usually they'll be amenable to that. Or, if they're not, then at some point DCS will come in and then they have to. Mm-hmm. We try and work with them first before it gets to that point. Mm-hmm. But if they keep going down that road, it's going to get there.
So the two of you and your Indiana Parenting Institute, you have to kind of act as parents and teachers to the parents so that they can be better parents and teachers to their own children.
Right. That's exactly what we do.
Wow.
In other words, our focus is not necessarily to interfere with the parent parenting their child, raising their kid, but to teach them ways that they can do that so that the child benefits from that behavior.
We call it teaching them alternatives because right now you're using a method. Parenting is a methodology of action reaction, right? And so you're using the specific reaction, the specific action, and it's not working. But it's the only action you know. I was raised that when a kid was bad, they got spanked. That's all I know. Why isn't this kid, behaving after I spank him? Mm-hmm. So then we come in and we go, well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? You know, we give them other options because each personality is different. Spanking may work for one kid, but it won't work for another. I'm not condoning spanking, but I'm just saying that methodology may work on one child, but it may not work on another. Right. It doesn't mean something's wrong with that child. It just means we need to come up with another methodology because the one that was working for this one is not working for that one. And that's what we do. It's not so much parenting a parent, but really expanding their options because I always tell people that's your freedom. If you got one option, you ain't free. But if you got several options,
that's freedom. And you're giving that family the liberty to pursue happiness as opposed to saying, I'm better than you and I'm going to tell you what happiness is. It's not even about that because you don't even, you're the instructor. You're not living in the home.
Right.
And it creates a better relationship between the parent and the child.
Yeah.
Within the whole family. So basically when we teach the parent, maybe a parent will come to us for one child because of the behavior of one child. But what happens is what you learn, the skills that you learn are so general that you can use those skills with all of the children in the home. So our focus is to stop that generational perpetuation of parenting neglect, if you will, or parenting abuse within the home.
Final comment.
No, I was going to say, and what's beautiful about it is because we give them options, they get to, and we emphasize relationship, they get to know each of their kids. They get to know how they're different, and then they have options on how to handle each of their kids.
I got to have you back for part 2. I'm loving this. You know what? I got to say thanks to Jena Bellezza and Laura Wynn from the Indiana Parenting Institute for joining me at the CounterPoint. Hey, if you need a refresher on parenting or just a tune-up on being more consistent with your children, you may want to consider classes. You take classes for everything else, so why not for the most important role in life? I need you to stay positive. I need you to keep your head up and always be encouraged to voice your counterpoint.